In war, the way is to avoid what is strong and strike at what is weak. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. What up, gamers? Welcome back to part 2 of my EU4 military guide. This is, yes, as I mentioned, part 2, where we're actually going to fight some wars. If you haven't seen part 1, it's just about 15 minutes, a bit less. It's pretty watchable and brief. And I'll just show you some of the important numbers to be aware of when you're thinking about military. But this time we're actually going to fight a war. So I got a claim on Kutch, which you can see here. It's striped through an agenda, an estate's agenda. They gave me this claim. Actually, the mission is to just have a port. But there is a nation, Kutch, at game start, but unfortunately Gujarat conquered them. So that claim is going to be really hard to get because Gujarat is too big for us. Which is a nice segue into part 1 of this video, which is going to be fight wars you know you can win. So when you go to declare war, it'll show you how many troops there are on either side. So we've got 12,000 infantry and no horses. Whereas they have 25,000 infantry, more than double, and 9,000 horses. So this is not a war that we can win, just on the numbers. We could call Vijayanagar in, and then we would have an absolute numbers advantage, but it's still a little bit too close for my liking, and this is going to bring in, it's going to have a bunch of people involved: Sindh, Baluchistan, Porbandar and Khandesh are both small, and they're not very important, but yeah, this is going to be an issue. It's going to be a hard war. We're going to lose a lot of battles. We're going to have to siege a lot of stuff. It's just going to be really hard. So instead, I want to fight someone else. And you can see I don't actually have any other claims, but I do have this vassal, Hadoti, and they have claims, which is very convenient for us because it means that we can go to war with Malwa or Gwalior. Malwa is a big boy. They're going to be sort of our imminent rivals. But yeah, we can definitely win a war against Gwalior. They're only allied with these guys, Ratanpur, who are, where are they? Down here. So we're probably going to be alright with these. Yep, don't have any other allies or anything. So if we declare war, you can see they've got a total of 10,000 troops, and we would have 12,000. So we are equal in numbers, but I think we're going to win, partly because we have human intelligence, and also because we're playing as Mewar, and Mewar's starting tradition is infantry combat ability plus 10%, or that's half of it. So our infantry are better than their infantry. We could probably build a bit bigger, like we can afford 14,000 troops, so maybe I will actually hire the Free Company before we go to war. Another thing that's really useful to consider when thinking about wars that you can win is allies. So I kind of mentioned this before, that we can call Vij in against Gujarat if we offer them land. We could also probably call them in against Malwa because Vij is their enemy. Oh no, they won't join, that's fine. You can see here most of why they won't join the minus 1,000 is that they don't owe at least 10 favors, so we could potentially curry favors with them. It's not a terrible idea, especially for big people like Vij that you're gonna hopefully stay allied to for a little while. Just on the note of allies, this is a side note, not in my notes for this video, but I think it's in Art of War that Sun Tzu suggests having your allies just on the other side of your enemies. So I've made friends with Vij, and I would love to make friends with, say, Bengal or Timurids, because they're just on the other side of all of these kind of other medium-sized guys who I would like to be fighting against with their support. So there's like a tactical strategic advantage, because like you're coming at them in a pincer maneuver from both sides. Say if me and Timurids were at war against Delhi, like they could come from the north and we could come from the south, and it would be bad for Delhi. Another thing is that you're not competing with your allies, and also that they probably dislike the people closest to them. As with Vijayanagar, they dislike Gujarat and Malwa, same as us, because we're kind of like, neighbors in a bad way. So yeah, allies, that's one thing, and they're included when you declare war. It counts all of these people, as with Vij here, currently 12, but once we call in Vij, it counts the whole lot. So that's useful for you to figure out how many will be involved in the war. Another really useful tool when you're trying to figure out if you can win a war is the ledger. The button is down here in the bottom right, and there's a bunch of information here, but for now I'm just talking about these two, army quality and armies. So if we go armies and rivals and allies, say, we can arrange by total. I think that might be the default. So we're kind of in the middle. So Sind has less troops than us, Malwa has more, Gujarat and Vij have, significantly more. Oops. And you can see how it's broken down, whatever. This is all information that's available elsewhere, but it's a really useful way to see it all at once. And you can just like look up whoever it is. So who are we thinking about fighting? What are they called? Gwailor. So if we go to the ledger, we can search Gwalior, sorry. We can see the comparison. So they have a lot more manpower than us, but we're miles ahead on troops. Go to the ledger index, press the down button, and go to army quality comparison. The ledger's really badly designed in terms of how its interface is. Like these next buttons go between the different like options here for no whatever, doesn't matter. Army quality comparison is really useful because all of the stats that we talked about in the previous video are visible here, and you can also like compare yourself to other people in terms of discipline. So we have equal with these guys and worse than Gujarat. Morale, we have the best morale, which is really good news. So yeah, that's also really good to check. If their troops are just like miles better than yours, you probably shouldn't go to war. Or if yours are miles better, then it'll make up for a numerical disadvantage or whatever. Just make sure to use the ledger. That's the real message here. Another thing that's really vital is a technology advantage. We have just hit military tech 4. Maybe I should have started the video then. Sorry, I was ruling a country. But tech 4 is a really important one because you get this land morale improvement by 0.5. And if we look at the tech view, I've just got it here, we're ahead in tech compared to everyone else. Miltech 3, Miltech 3. So honestly, like, Miltech 4 is one of the biggest jumps in the game in terms of your relative advantage. So it might actually be worth trying to go to war with a big boy like Gujarat or Malwa, given that we have this technological advantage. We also do have better troops. We've got this morale of armies guy. Yeah, that's interesting. So again, this is something that has like massively changed my plan. So that's why it's worth looking at wars that you know you can win. I don't think I know I can win the war against Gujarat. And to be honest, like if every war that you fight is one that you're sure that you're going to win, like 100% sure, the game's pretty boring and a bit slow. So like it's worth having challenging ones. But when you're getting used to the ropes, when you're learning all of the mechanics, just beat up on people that are smaller than you. So that's part 1, fight wars you know you can win. Next, war score and goals. So I'm just going to unpause here, lower down the speed a little bit as I send my troop over to the border here. And we're going to talk about war goals. So I mentioned already about having a casus belli, a CB. So that's Latin for excuse for going to war, or a reason for war, casus belli, cause for war. And it's really important that you select the right ones, right? So here we have no casus belli against, who's this? Hadoti, this is our subject. And so we're going to lose 6 stability if we go ahead with this war, because we have no CB, and also we're married and they're our subjects. And we'll also gain 6 war exhaustion. So that's bad. But if we declare on Gwalior, we can see we've got this take Gerd for Hadoti, who is our subject. And there's none of those negative options. We could even select no casus belli and take the horrible hit, but there's no reason to do that. And it's really important to know which casus belli you're using, because if you use the wrong ones, certain options will be unavailable. So I think if you humiliate rival, which this is not a humiliate rival war, but if we go, I think Malwa is our rival. Yes. So if we declare, we could humiliate rival, and you can see the following peace options are disabled: conquest of provinces, core returns, liberation, blah, 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 blah. So you don't want to accidentally select humiliate if you actually want to conquer their land. So just be really careful about that. And later ones, so in the age of absolutism or revolutions, I think, you get the imperialism casus belli, and that's a really powerful one. You should take full advantage of. It gives you discounts on seizing land. But anyway, we're gonna declare war once our troops come over. We're gonna do the Gerd one, and we're gonna fight Ratanpur. This option here, this little tick box, is to co-belligerate them, so it makes them another like core enemy, and we're not going to do that just because we can't really take anything from them, so there's not a whole lot of point. So yeah, let's just wait until our troops get there, and then we will declare. I don't even think I'm going to hire the free company like I said I would. What the heck, let's do it. You shouldn't be afraid of mercs. Alright, I'm gonna wait until the 1st of February here. Not for any particular reason. I guess our guys arrive then, but they've all got really low morale just after they arrive. Oops, low morale just after they arrive, so we're not even gonna send them into battle now anyway. So, let's declare, we'll take Gerd, and confirm. The other important thing to note about casus belli... Oops. I immediately just click those guys in. That's fine. The war goal is to take Gerd, the province of Gerd. And once you have it, you get a ticking war score. And this will just like give you a bunch of points that you can then use to sue them out. Because this is a one province minor that we're fighting, they've literally just got one province. That's sort of much of a muchness because we'll fully occupy them as soon as we've taken this province. Maybe getting this free company was a bit silly. Oh, they did join. Okay, yeah. And how many troops do they have? Ratanpur? They've got 6,000. Okay, so this guy probably can't beat them just by himself. But we could leave our mercs here to siege the province and take our regular troops down, who are bigger and better fighters. If there's enough troops. Oh, we can't get there from here? I guess Jaunpur is not going to give us military access. Okay, whatever. Alright, we're all just going to stand here and take casualty. I should probably delete this free company. It was not really worth having, I think, at this stage. We're earning enough money that it's not a big problem. But, yeah, I think I'll just delete them. Whatever. Unimportant. Okay, so this brings us on to the next part, the next thing that I want to talk about with warfare, which is forts and sieges. So forts are a really annoying part of war in EU4, but obviously they're a lot of fun as well and kind of make the game, they add a significant amount to what the game is. The way sieges work is sort of complicated and sort of straightforward. Basically, this big number here, which is the same one here, is your percent chance of conquering this province this turn. And as you can see, we have a negative chance of doing that. The percentage chance has a lot to do with the fort level, which is visible here, and the fort level also determines how many regiments you need in order to siege the province. So you need at least 9 guys standing there to even start trying to get this, minus 14% or whatever. There's also 950 troops inside. That's not very many, which is good. But yeah, basically the way that it works is every turn, which, every time this siege phase ticks over, a die is rolled. I believe it's a 20-sided die? 14-sided die. And that's, you can see we just rolled a 13, which is the best possible roll. And then there are all of these modifiers, and the modifiers get added to that die roll to produce a final number, and then that number determines what the outcome is. So we've got a 0% chance of actually getting surrender here. That's what that big number is again. But the most likely outcome is that defenders will desert. which means that there will be fewer people inside and we'll have a higher chance of taking it. So it's about to tick over in 2 days. We rolled a 6. It was probably a supplies shortage, which, yeah, gives us a small positive result. Anyway, and so on and so forth. These modifiers are really important. So our leader has a siege pip, so we get +1 from that. There we go, and we won. Sorry, you'll get to see those exact same stats again in the next siege against Ratanpur. But yeah, there's leader pips, there's number of cannons. If it's a port castle, then having a navy blockading it makes a difference. There's a few other things, but yeah, those are the main ones. And the more of those that you can have, the better, basically. In late game, when you've got a lot of money and manpower and stuff, you often want to have like 30 artillery in every army, just because like that way you can siege down the castles. And at the moment, having like a fort level, that was fort level 3, that's a pretty big fort, honestly. Okay, so here we're about to fight a battle. It's going to be 10k against 6k, so that's good. We know we've got the advantage over them in tech, so our troops are better. So we're basically guaranteed to win this battle, but it's also important to note we're not getting any crossing penalty, which I believe I discussed in the first video about the rebels that we start with in Mewar. But yeah, there's a bunch of rivers around here, but there's not one between these two provinces, so we don't get a crossing penalty. That's great. The other thing is that they're going to be defending, we're attacking, right? We're like marching into the province. And the provinces are grasslands, which is good for us as an attacker, because if we look here in the jungle, dice roll for attacker -1. So if we look at this battle here, these are the dice rolls. Again, basically the way battle works, haven't discussed this in much detail, but basically you get a bunch of pips from the general and the troops, and you roll a die and you add them together, and then there's some very complicated stuff in terms of like who attacks who and like flanking damage and stuff that I don't really understand. No one really understands. If you want to get that deep, again, this is probably not the video for you. Get on that EU4 wiki. But yeah, if this was happening in the jungle, instead of this 2, we would have a 2 and a -1. See how this guy's got 3 and 2? It would be like, yeah, 2 and -1. So let's wait for the next 3-day battle phase. Oops, sorry, let's hit pause. So this time we each rolled a 1. Their general is better than ours, but we rolled a 7. And we basically obliterated them because our troops are just miles better than theirs. Okay, nice. So our allies are going to go and attack this extremely weak enemy army, and they're going to stack wipe them, which is what you call it when you completely destroy an enemy army. So let's turn up the speed very slightly so that happens. Yeah, instantly just destroys that entire stack of enemies. Now they have 0 soldiers total, and we can see that here as well. There's 0 soldiers total on the enemy side. So that means we've got a pretty good chance of winning, I would say. Stack wiping is strategically extremely valuable. It costs your enemies a lot of money, a lot of manpower. It's tactically difficult for them to recover from. And there's sort of a bunch of weird conditions that like determine whether or not a stack gets stack wiped. That don't quote me on this, but I think it's if there's 10 times more troops, or if they're defeated and there's nowhere that they can retreat to safely, or something along those lines. So in this case, because we already had a stack on the only friendly province for them, when they lost that fight, they couldn't go anywhere. So they disbanded entirely. It's not super relevant in this particular situation, because again, we just like outnumber and outclass them dramatically. Don't worry about that, that's from a previous war. Okay, so we're getting this unconditional surrender here. That is good, but it means that we're likely to get a bunch of war exhaustion pretty soon. An important thing, I guess this is kind of the next section of this video, is when to make peace. Let's just get this event. I'll take the legitimacy hit, I think. Okay, nice, and we won that. Okay, so one way that you know that you should make peace is that you've got a 100% war score. There's literally nothing else that we can get from this war. And we've also, like, 100% sieged them down. But that's not the most common situation. More often, you'll, like, if we'll have another big war against, like, Malwa or something in the future, and we'll have, like, bagel. That's just my dog having a little squeak. We'll have, like, you know, half of the provinces sieged, and they'll have a few of ours sieged, and we'll have won some battles, lost some battles. We'll be at like 67 war score or something. And then, you know, you want to negotiate and peace out before you, like, drive your country into the ground by, you know, losing all of your money and taking 1 million loans and all of that stuff. But this was a nice, easy war. It was a war that we knew that we could win, and we could basically keep this war going indefinitely if we wanted to for some reason, but, you know, we don't. So we're going to make peace. So one thing that's really good to know is you can just negotiate for the entire war here. The other way that you can do that is to go to the main enemy. And it says here, we're negotiating on behalf of our entire alliance, and they are negotiating for their entire alliance. But depending on what your war goals are and who you're fighting and so on, and in this case, it is true in this case, we actually want to sue them out separately. So if we sue for peace against Ratanpur, it'll say we negotiate for our entire alliance, and they are merely negotiating for themselves. So that's important to know. So once we sue them out of this war, the war will still be going. So let's get whatever we can here. So let's take money, trade power, and pillaging doesn't do anything. Let's annul the treaty. Doesn't really matter. Whatever, let's pillage just for fun. So we're just getting as much as we can. 96% war score, let's take it. Great. But we've still got a war going, and the war's still at 100% because we've got all 100% of Gerd's provinces here. We have to wait another day before we can send a peace offering, another peace deal. And now it's just Gerd left, so we're going to take their province, going to take all their money, and that's all that we can do because they're no longer going to exist. So let's do that. Bada bing, bada boom. Nice. Mewari conquest of Gerd, all done. So that's basically the end of my military guide. It's pretty basic. There's a few other things that I'd like to mention, one of which involves sieges. Maybe I'll just, like, splice in a little clip of this from a different game. What up, everybody? It's Noon here. Just wanted to show you this little thing about relieving sieges that I mentioned. So you can see we're in this war again. I did end up going to war for Kutch against Gujarat, and I've called in Vijayanagar, and Baluchistan and Sindh are also involved. It's going okay. You can see we've got 17% war score here. We hold the war goal, take Kutch, so we've earned 6 war score from that. We can get 19 more, so that's cool. We'll get up like above 30 there. If we go to sue for peace, you can see we can't actually take our main war goal yet. They won't take it by minus 1,000 because we don't have any forts. So we need to take this fort or this fort, I think. I've got several merc companies and my army, and we're about to go and hop on this siege that Sindh is sieging Ranthambore here. And you can see we've got 1,800 troops inside. And if we spend 9 military power, we can sortie from siege, which creates an army from the garrison to protect the province. So we've actually got a pretty big stack here. We've got 16,000 of our own troops, and then like about 5,000 more from our allies and our subject. So we outnumber them 2 to 1, tech-wise. Who's this? Sindh. Where's tech here? Sindh. We are a little ahead, but actually our morale's pretty similar if we go to the war enemies here. We've got the best morale, and then Sindh is next. We've got the best discipline, we've got the best siege ability. We're equal first for defensiveness, and we're second in tradition, but behind on professionalism. Whatever. So basically we've got like significantly better troops. So this battle should be absolutely easy regardless, but what I'm going to do is once we actually initiate battle, so we're going to get a crossing, but I don't think there's any way we can feasibly get there. I guess we could go to Dundar and then head in. Actually, that's not a terrible idea. I don't know if we'll get a crossing penalty this way, but I don't want them to run away is the thing, basically, but that's fine. Also, you'll notice I've got allow attached. That's why my 2 those two small armies are following me around. So if you ever want your AI to do that, that's how you do it. Set your army to follow me. You can also go subjects, set focus, and set focus supportive. They will stick close to allies and avoid independent operations. Great. Okay, so yeah, now we don't have a crossing penalty. I'm actually just going to wait for the rest of the troops to come along, and now we're all going to go together. And then we're going to start on the 24th of September, and then shortly after that, I'm just going to press this button. You can it stays like sieged after you initiate battle, so here I can do it whenever I want. I'm just going to do it straight away. And now there's no one in there, but all of those extra troops are on our side. And so in this case, it's not really that necessary, except hopefully, you know, our losses will be spread out to include that garrison, which I don't think gets refilled by the manpower in the same way. So yes, that mitigates our losses, and in other situations it can be much more valuable because it will actually like turn the tide of battle that otherwise might be lost. Okay, got this this fort. Okay, so I mentioned this before, but yeah, so we've got no artillery, so we don't get any bonuses from that. There's no blockade possible, so there's no loss from that. Fort level is 1, so there's a -1 on the dice roll for that. And we've got 2 leader siege, so that adds 2 to the dice roll. So that 2 leader siege has just doubled our dice roll for this, this, you know, period. Okay, so we've got a 21% chance here. See how we go. I'm also sieging down this fort over here separately, and we're gonna have to go and do this again pretty soon. And in this case, oh nice, we won the siege. Okay, so here we're gonna be a lot more evenly matched, and honestly I maybe should wait for my other mercs to be available, but I think we'll be fine here. Oh, and remember we want to go into this province to avoid the crossing situation. And in fact, I think I kind of want to hit these guys separately. Okay, this is another useful thing to know about sieges is when you're relieving a siege of your own province, you're always the defender. So they will have a -1 on their dice roll, regardless of what happens if we fight in that province. But that's only if you've got a... are these guys going somewhere? No. That's only if you've got a castle there. It's not in your regular provinces. Okay, so they clearly don't want to tangle with us, but if we... Yeah, and we've also got this large Gujarati army, Vijayanagar army with us of 10,000 troops or so. So that's going to be very helpful as well, but we're still going to use this just to make sure that we've got the definitive advantage. It turned out to be closer than I thought. Sorry, not as close as I was expecting. But again, that 9 mil points is really valuable sometimes, so yeah, consider using that. Right, we're not at war with those guys. Can we just peace out Baluchistan for a white peace? Something really useful is for, yeah, enemies that you don't need to be fighting, just try and white peace them as quickly as possible. It's a good practice. Okay, and we won this siege as well. So we might even try and sue out Sind, see if we can get all of these provinces. That's nice. I like to take provinces that are trade provinces. 90%, but they're pretty close to letting us take all of that. So, yeah, I guess this section should be called When to Make Peace. And it's when you've got everything that you want from a war. And we have not quite got everything that we want. So let's come down here and take these last couple of provinces away from them. Oh, nice. We're also going to stack wipe Gujarat here, because of their really low morale. Beautiful. Oh, no, we didn't quite stack wipe. Okay, someone had a baby, and we lost some war exhaustion, which is really nice, honestly. I'll take that any day. Disappointing we didn't stack wipe them there, actually. And I think I'm just going to send my troops over and start taking out this fort in Baluchistan here. We don't need to actually win against Baluchistan very hard, just enough to get a white peace. Getting them out will kind of help with our overall war score if we can like get rid of them quickly. So like now, right, we've got one province, we're sieging a fort, we can't really take anything, but they'll take a white peace. If we even click one, oh, they'll even give us 33 ducats. All right, let's take that. Or we could even take war reps in that case. I don't hate that. And 11 ducats. Let's do it. Nice. And then we don't have to worry about that. And the percentage score that we have of the war just rose dramatically, up from like 80% to 96%. We're going to sue these guys out separately, as I mentioned. If we go through the main negotiation thing, say we want these three, then we also want Kuch and Patan. That's about as much as we're going to be able to take, I reckon. Oh no, they'll give us even more. Wow. Wow, they'll give us a lot. Okay, so this is another bad example. But we can get even more if we negotiate separately. So I'll show you that. We save peace here. Oops. So those were the ones that I wanted. And we'll take 48 ducats. Great. This is really greedy, by the way. This is a very greedy piece that I'm taking here. Now we wait a day. Oh, cool. We completed that estate agenda, having access to the sea. That's great, but we can still use our claim on Kuch here. So we've got our diplomat back. We can actually take heaps more now than we could before. And I'm not even going to take this much because it's worth... it's a lot more trouble than it's worth because we'll get rebels and whatnot. But I think this is like a pretty dramatic expansion that we're going to... Oh, no. Wait, sorry. We don't want to give this to our allies, probably. Because we're dicks. Do we? Do we want to give it to... Jungar? Oh, Vidge will get mad as well that they're not getting anything. Well, you didn't occupy anything that you want. They're just going to be mad. We're not going to be able to satisfy them. So, sucks to be them. But also, like, screwing over your allies is often a really good idea if you can grow at their expense. But these ones are occupied by allies, so we physically can't give it to ourselves. The question is, do we want to give it to them, or do we want to leave it and take it later? I reckon let's give them this province here. We can hopefully like vassalize them later or something. And give me war reps. War reps is sometimes good and sometimes not, because it really dramatically extends the length of the truce. So September 72 with war reps, and without war reps it's 71. So it's like a year. Sometimes it's more than that, I think. Anyway, that's something to consider if it's going to make a big difference to how quickly you can expand next time. Then don't take war reps, because usually the money isn't worth as much as like getting another province very quickly. Anyway, we're getting a bunch of money here. There's going to be a pretty significant coalition against us here. A bunch of them, so Gujarat, Sindh, Balochistan, and Malwa will all have truces with until 72 anyway. So yeah, I don't know. If we don't take this, I don't think it's going to change it for us. Maybe if we get rid of that one. No. I'm just I'm not super concerned about this coalition. Yeah, so this one, it's just going to be ones that have a truce against us. I think I want these high-value provinces enough to cop the coalition. So let's do something like that. And we'll take 225 gold, get a lot of aggressive expansion. That's fine. So there's our piece. There's that little trick about sending troops out from castles. And that's the end of the war. So after the war, this isn't really a post-war guide, but this is important anyway, so there's a little after the war section. You're going to need to core up all of your provinces. This makes them basically way more valuable. It can be worth doing this concentrate development, and in fact I think I am going to do that. There's some valuable provinces here. Might not be a good idea. Whatever, I'm going to do it anyway. So it's going to take a bunch of development, 6 development, out of this state, and it's going to invest it into our capital, which will buy 4 development. So let's do that. And that's going to make it, so at the moment, oops. At the moment, if we core all of these, it'll cost 59. Once we centralize development, it's 48. And these admin points are really quite valuable. So, like, especially at the start of the game, and especially when you don't have as much money as you might with Memoir. Incidentally, I devved up this gold to level 10, so, you know, that's where we've been making a bunch of money this whole time. Wars elsewhere will be different. But yeah, having admin points, they're like essentially the most valuable currency out of all of these ones. Admin points are pretty much the single best one, other than maybe stability. And stability is only so valuable because you pay for it with admin power, so yeah. We still haven't cored all of them. We should keep working on it, but maybe let's... Oh, we can't centralize these ones. Can't centralize that or that, so we'll just core them for their full price. Okay, that's going to do it for me for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know if you've got any more questions about military, about how to decide who to go to war with, about allies or whatever. If there's stuff that I left out that you really want to know, yeah, please let me know in the comments. Thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Crunch, crunch.